Sit back and relax.
Okay. What do you think? Ready?
I'm so ready. I'm so excited. Are you?
It's my first podcast.
You're doing brain cartwheels right now.
Ooh. Okay. Let's roll. Also, I feel like part of this like excitement is like you and I don't get to perform anymore.
I'm so jacked up.
Just like the idea of like doing a podcast together feels
It's nice.
I know.
I almost want to just bust out into a scene. I'm like gonna initiate something.
Oh yeah.
Reverend Crenshaw.
I believe like is it Matt Besser or somebody from UCB does like an improvised podcast.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, essentially, aren't they all?
Yeah, exactly. But like they do characters and like
I would enjoy that. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
Who knows? The night is young. I don't know where this thing's gonna go.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my best friend, Erin.
What it do?
Improviser, comedian. You may have seen her in The Restaurant, Wigging Out, Berserker. If you followed our work back at I.O. in 2010, 11, 12.
Berserker was solid.
Berserker was
a great
solid.
team. It was a super fun team.
And a lot of I.O. musical teams.
Loads.
But they're not, I.O.'s not around anymore.
And they all don't matter.
Yeah.
A decade of work.
And even if it was around, it wouldn't matter.
It still wouldn't matter. That's true. Even in a sold out show, it doesn't matter.
Do you feel like the thing that like you have record of that you've like that you can showcase yourself the best is probably The Restaurant?
I would definitely say that has the most notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. For me and my head, like there are other projects that I've maybe like enjoyed more that haven't gotten as much views. But I think for the most part, yeah, it's probably my most recognizable pursuit.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen The Restaurant,
Go on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Look it up. 13 episodes.
I mean, it got real close.
We got very, very close. Yeah, we got bought by Lionsgate and then dropped by Lionsgate. Really ran the gamut.
But also, I feel like there's not a lot of good. There's so much talent in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like most of us don't record it well. Have people do sound well. People who are editors edit it well.
For sure.
And it just gets like there's no online presence hardly from Chicago people.
And
I feel like The Restaurant was like well done all the way around.
Thankfully, I think like we were a crew of 6. So one of the 6 of us was very well versed in like editing and sound and all that jazz. Like I think you're hard pressed to find someone that's like a jack of all trades in that regard. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like you're either funny, you can sing, you can produce, you can write. Like it's really, I don't want to say rare, but I mean, I think most people probably aren't like triple threats, quadruple threats.
But I feel like maybe in Chicago, we try to do all of it. Whereas like, and it never looks good on camera. And like, I feel like maybe like people in LA, like in New York, just like collaborate with people who, don't you think?
I think I would agree. I think that's what makes Chicago the second city, because we just keep trying. And New York and LA just keep doing. Give it the old college try. But it's not, I mean, I'm very, very impressed with this setup and the fact that you know how to push that record button and you're crafty. You might be the jack of all trades.
I'm trying.
The John of all
I think
trades.
also there's so many times where you're like, you have to because
no one else will.
No one else will.
Yeah.
Also, it's like we don't have the budget for like, like you have to figure everything out.
Yeah.
I was telling Matt the other day that like
Matt, by the way, is his beautiful husband. Gorgeous.
I was telling him the other day that like actually like starting a project and like doing all those things that I don't know is fun for me. Like
really,
because you have to learn it all. Like even like how to edit a website or like you know what I mean? Because it's. Well, I think anything that's like visually creative is fun for me, but also like the fact that it's like you get to learn something new while you're doing it. And then you'll do it,
know
and it won't be as
anything.
good as someone who does it professionally, but you're like, oh, you get a little insight into like an extra skill.
But I think that's awesome. You're constantly learning, and like you really are a sponge. Like when it comes to absorption, like I feel like that is a tiny bit of a nightmare for me. I mean, I don't do well with complacency, but the idea of like being comfortable, like, oh, this is what I know I'm good at. I don't know if I want to venture off into other avenues that might leave me feeling absolutely useless.
I want to tell everyone about Erin's ideal life. Especially before COVID.
Oh no.
Well, when you and I first met, like you worked like
I did
a
work.
few nights a week. I feel like, and like pretty quickly, the rest of your life became like improv.
Yeah. Yeah, for a long time I did like 3 shifts a week.
Yeah,
Essentially. Which fortunate enough like to make that
money.
to make that money, to make that last. But yeah, I was definitely able to dedicate a few nights a week to improv, which is fairly rare. But I think that like when we got to IO, like blessed, we didn't have to, wait in a pool. Like we both got placed on teams right away. So I think at that point in our lives, we were so jacked up about improv. It's like there's nothing that I wouldn't have done in order to make my schedule available for rehearsals that I paid for.
Yes.
Shit like that. And any show.
Yeah, and like chomping at the bit to like, oh yeah. Oh, I'd love to be on a team and pay to do rehearsals
Hands down.
and do like a bazillion shows for free.
And I'd probably do it again, as sad as it is.
Do you feel like now that like IO's closed and this is like such a weird reset, I feel like mentally to be like, I can't do anything for maybe years or I don't know, however long. Do you feel like you have like, it's changed your trajectory of like, well,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, there's not a doubt in my mind. I mean, when IO closed, it was very abrupt. It left us in the middle of a semester that I was teaching, in the middle of shows that I was doing. So I think you can't help but kind of redirect yourself if you still want to continue doing this. This is certainly something that I can't imagine not doing in my lifetime, So I don't know what the path looks like.
Yeah.
But it's certainly going to hopefully present itself because I can't imagine not doing it.
Do you think that, I don't know, do you think that you guys would leave Chicago more than before because there might be less holding you here?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Dave is lucky enough to be able to...
Dave, by the way, is Erin's very handsome husband.
He's a hot one.
And I want to talk about how he's famous.
Oh, we'll get there. We're talking about me. Okay. I'm joking.
No, you're not.
I'm not joking. It's just a small glimpse to who I am. But no, we definitely have that discussion. What's the draw? What's keeping it in Chicago, right? It's like for the longest time we were here because IO is no doubt the hub for long form improv. This is like, it's world renowned, and now that's gone, right? And not for nothing, but like the city is essentially closed right now because of COVID. So all these amenities that we have at our fingertips that like make it so amazing to live in a city.
And make it the reason to spend extra rent and like put up with like,
exactly.
not being able to own a home.
I can't go to the aquarium.
Yeah.
It's like,
I can't go to the aquarium, I'm out.
That's it. No shed, I'm gone. No shed, so she fled. That's what I'm going to make a shirt that says that. Yeah, so I don't really know what the draw of Chicago, I mean, other than like our friends and, the fact that,
it's also like how long, because everything's so indefinite, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how long do you stick around? Like a year from now?
Yeah.
Do you go, let's see what like gets restarted theater wise, what bubbles up and or do you just like, I don't know.
We want to go to Europe. So do you. Like, I mean, we're chomping at the bits. I would love to be quarantined overseas. Like, who the fuck cares? Get me there. What about you?
Where would you be?
I think I would go somewhere in Spain.
Okay.
I love Spain.
Not Amsterdam?
I love Amsterdam, but I feel like I'm fortunate enough to have been there a fair amount of times that I would even though I dig Spain, I want to see more of the country, and I'm obsessed with the food. I'm fairly well versed in Spanish, and like you're still able to go around.
Erin can absorb languages.
3 days.
3 days.
3 days. I got the whole language on lock.
It's a superpower first. Go ahead. Just continue the podcast in Spanish.
Perfecto. Or do you want Italian? Perfetto.
Oh.
Or do you want German? Wunderbar. I'm joking. Oh my God. That's the end of my my linguistics. Where would you guys would go to Germany?
We would, I mean, if we could, we'd love to go to Germany.
Yeah.
Just because at least I have so much invested in the language. That's part of the fun of like traveling to like either Austria or Germany or Switzerland.
I guess so.
But that's, who knows? We would love to.
Yeah.
We would love to have a summer home there.
Oh God, amen, man. Are you trying to get out of Chicago? What are your thoughts?
I would say I've been always trying to get out of Chicago.
You have been.
But it's like there's things that make the city really awesome, and I do feel like I take it for granted. Do you watch Somebody Feed Phil?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see the Chicago episode?
I don't think so.
There's a new season, and there's a Chicago episode,
Really?
and Matt and I were watching it, and we were so proud of Chicago, we literally started crying while watching it.
You cry at everything.
Yeah, I cry at everything.
Yes, quick side note. Don't ever watch anything with Jonny because he talks through the entirety of it. And we'll probably cry at some point.
Unrelated to the movie, potentially, and just based on something in the movie.
No, I haven't seen this season. So wait, what are some of the things that make Chicago so special for you?
Well, like, honestly, the people here are so nice.
Yeah.
Like, when we were watching that episode, we were like, isn't it just so much easier for Phil to have conversations with people? Like, people were so nice. We were super proud.
Yeah.
There was a guy who was like at a bar, like having a conversation with him, and I was like, I taught that guy improv.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, that was exciting just to see someone
Very
I knew.
cool. Yeah.
And then like, it is a pretty city, right? It's super pretty city, and it's like, there's fun stuff to do. I would say that my biggest thing is that there's not enough outdoorsy stuff, like real close in the vicinity, especially like rock climbing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I guess there's like enough road biking, but
Yeah, like
I feel like I would like more outdoorsy stuff accessible to the city. And then everyone's complaint, which is just like, take a month or two off the winter.
Yeah, it's very true. The winters are brutal. But I'm wondering where you could go that could offer you like that sort of outdoorsy vibe that's not incredible. Like maybe like in Arizona.
That's affordable.
Yeah.
And I would say liberal enough that Matt and I can hold hands and like walk around in public and not be like nervous.
I would maybe say like Denver, but
Denver's so expensive.
Yeah, Denver's overdone.
We would love to do Denver if it wasn't like,
it's pretty progressive and you're mountainy, but
it's pretty progressive and you're mountainy.
But it's like it's 300 days of sunshine.
It's really good.
Which is just batty. Like that's awesome.
It's batty.
That's straight batty.
It's straight batty.
Oh, right then. My cousin called me up the other night, and he moved to New Hampshire a few years ago. And he's trying to convince me to move to like the dead ass middle of New Hampshire. It's on a lake though. This town called Laconia. I looked it up. It's like 16,000 people, which is so small for me.
Yeah,
it's like the idea of it is a little crazy. I mean, I'm not like that mountain town kind of girl. I dig a hustle and bustle. You know, I need a little bit of vibrancy, but it looks awesome. I mean, you could buy a straight up mansion for like $200,000, and you're an hour and a half away from Portland, Maine, and 2 hours away from Boston. But again, the winter is a freaking joke.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I feel like you and I both, maybe more so you, if we like stepped away from a little bit of a hustle and bustle at this point of living here so long, and like you like lived in New York and Toronto and like had access to like go out and do like comedic stuff, shows, like sketch shows, improv. I that if we stepped away from that, like I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
I feel like we slow down to
like
almost a scary pace.
I think we'd be like we'd miss it. But also,
no, for sure.
I feel like so the level of improv in outside of the major cities has improved like drastically.
Yeah,
in the last 10 years, because a lot of the people who have come here and like really studied have gone out and like
go
started
back to
theaters.
their home theaters. Yeah,
there might not be always enough like critical mass of like a lot of people who've done it for a long time to like, you know, make it as, you know, what Chicago is, where you can go watch a million good shows, you know, and learn from that.
I don't know if we'll get another Chicago back in the books. You know, the idea of like what this city is in the improv world, right? Like what it's never going to be LA.
No.
It's never going to be LA. No. It's never going to be New York, especially like with UCB closing, which was kind of almost like a saving grace of that city, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what would rival it.
Right. And I think Chicago is like positioned well for like something like improv to flourish because
geographically, you mean? Or just
maybe. I was thinking more in terms of like because the cost of living here is low and you can self-produce shows very affordably, and there isn't a huge like market for paid acting jobs here.
Yeah.
That like people just focus on doing it for the love of doing it.
That is true.
Which is like
it also brings a lot of dog shit improv.
Brings a lot of dog shit improv.
But it is true. Right? It's not for lack of trying. The trying city.
Yeah. You can bump into like every like 10th person in Chicago and they're like, oh, I took an improv class.
True.
Or like most people, well, this is the thing too, is I think most people have gone and seen improv.
Yeah.
And it's been their friends level, you know, level C show
program.
And so that's their reference point for it. Right. So then you're like, do you want to go see some improv? And like, nah. Nah.
I have a great suggestion. Popcorn. Like, here we go. And no, thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I mean, if not improv, like you teach a lot though. Jonny, like, yeah, you teach at multiple institutions all over the world. Really, even pushing up. Yeah, I mean, you've gone international. You taught in a few different countries. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. But you think if you moved out of Chicago that you would continue to do things like that, or would you just try to make like a little bit of a home base wherever you move to?
I feel like I would.
Yeah.
I feel like I would because like one, I love it. Mm-hmm. And two, like there's nothing else I'm like
passionate about.
I mean, not that I'm passionate about, but like there's so many things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess because I've taught long enough.
You've got clout.
Now, yeah, like at least it's like on my resume. So, you know, if I go somewhere else to teach, it'd be like, okay, I've already taught. Mm-hmm. So it's an easy.
Yeah. At very recognizable institutions as well. Like it's not like,
oh,
I taught at the Fart Stream. Oh, cool. You have Fart Stream teacher now?
Oh, yeah, the Fart Stream.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Do you know what I did, Erin?
What?
I took down an episode of our Wigging Out.
What? Why? Which one? No.
I wanted to talk to you about this.
And this is
so if you haven't seen Wigging Out,
oh my god! Well, now you're going to be able to see one less episode.
You're going to see one less episode.
Unreal.
And maybe I should put it back up.
Yeah, I mean, way to dog me. You literally wait till you have me on a public podcast to tell me something devastating. Which episode?
Episode 1.
No, that's our initiation into the Wigging Out world. What happened? Why? Is it
I just thought maybe there's an accent in that episode.
There may or may not be certain accents that we explore, but I play every character I play with integrity.
Yes.
All right.
And also, we have since discovered that you can play accents we didn't think before.
Yes, I am allowed to. I'm legally allowed to. My aunt's 23 to me, and I found out that I have a little bit of Chinese descent.
That was the accent.
And that may or may not have been the accent that I chose to do during an episode many, many years ago when it was still considered
like fun, lighthearted.
I think it was greenlit. The Office was doing things like that, so I consider that my litmus for what I'm able to do comedically. Okay, so you pulled that episode.
Well, here's the thing: is like, so I was kind of wondering what you thought about this. I feel like it's interesting, like what's taboo comedically.
Everything right now.
Yeah. But it's also like what makes something taboo, I think, becomes important too, right? Or like what's the perception? Because here's the thing is like you could do any accent in the world, right? And you could be like, I'm no ill will, right? But if it's in like, the zeitgeist of the time that people think, oh, when you do that accent, you mean ill, right?
Right.
Then you just kind of have to go with, what the perception is, right? It's just, I always feel like it's the same as the middle finger. It's like the middle finger is not a bad finger.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But like the perception is like you have ill will when you hold it up.
Yeah.
And so like you just kind of, I guess, just like comedically, you do have to go, you have to be like, you always have to be conscious of like, when do people think like you mean ill?
Right.
And like if the hurdle's too big to jump because like everyone just assumes that like, oh, that accent is meant like mean-spiritedly, and then, you know what I mean?
I think it's also tough maybe for like video content, because oftentimes like when you watch something, you don't know that person firsthand, so you don't know like their experiences or what sort of
you don't know if like you were raised in like a multicultural family and like right
there's no way I guess to tell, but I think certainly the climate right now is very, very hot, and there's a lot of
cancel culture.
Cancel culture.
I hope we get canceled already on this episode.
One and done. So I understand the need to kind of like walk on eggshells right now, but it's also like truly, truly hurting my soul knowing that comedy can't be free anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want it to come off like I don't care.
Yeah.
But I also want to be able to touch on topics that other people don't necessarily want to touch on, because I feel like that's what comedy is there for. And like the fact that like it's our responsibility to do it intelligently and with tact and present you with something that you might not laugh hysterically at in the moment, but you can go home and maybe think about it later, or like, I don't know what the intention is, but the
also,
idea that like comedy can just be knocked down to just the bare bones is sad for me.
I think here's how I think about like when you think about who you tease, right? And who you make fun of in life, right? Like who you do it to their face.
Yeah.
It's almost always your friend.
Right.
Unless you're an asshole. And then you do it to strangers, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you're on terms with someone that you can like playfully tease and like, rib each other or whatever is like, the fact that you can make fun of them is a sign of like friendship, right? And so it's unfortunate that there's like so many areas right now where like, and maybe rightly so, where like there's like culturally there's bad blood, and so they feel the teasing doesn't feel like it's coming from like a fun friendship sort of way, right? Like we're all on the same page. It feels like
antagonistic or cruel.
I was even thinking too, like what, like if you think about take an accent for example. Like what is it that makes it funny? It's usually some like aspect of like, oh yeah, that is what it's like. More so than it is like I'm making fun of this person, right? Like, oh, like that German accent. Oh yeah, that is what German sounds like, right? There's so much like in comedy. There's so much of that like, oh yeah, like good observation.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like with accents, especially if somebody does it well, it's like part of the comedy is like, oh yeah, that is how people sound.
I think it's also like making sure that you're not creating a stereotype and like talking about the things that like people directly associate with like whatever culture, whatever accent, whatever nationality, and rather you take that and just kind of filter in a situation but through that character's eyes. I feel like it should be allowed, but it's just not.
It's just not.
So you pulled the episode.
Maybe I should put it back. I don't know, but the thing is like I wouldn't want people to think like,
especially episode 1. We're like coming out the gate.
I don't know. I just wouldn't want people to think that like, oh, like we had bad intentions.
Yeah.
And it's
Just say me. Just say I had bad intentions.
I've had my share of moments.
Jonny's the most evil.
Oh my God. The
it's
things when you do things on stage in improv world and it's not recorded, you can learn your lesson and then walk away. But also it's like, think of like, you know, like when I like teach people and like the stuff people say, I'm like,
outrageous.
You can't say that.
Yeah.
But then I'm also like, think back to like first classes and like what people said and like maybe like what I thought I should or could say. It was like,
I mean, you say some stupid shit.
I've said some stupid shit.
Yeah.
But we all have, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
for
also,
sure.
people who, like, everything's changing, right? Like I was thinking about, isn't it funny that we, like, used to be, like, everything was gay? That's so gay.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Like, I said that a bunch.
What about, like, I can't even say it, but
I
the
know.
R word.
I know, the R word.
I know. I used to say it, like, all the time. You just never give it a second thought.
You never thought about it.
Yeah. But I think we were talking about this the other day. Like, what are the things that we're doing now in our culture that, like, 10 years from now are going to be blasphemous? So, like, oh, my God, you used to...
But also things might go in cycles, too, because, like, you know, like, if, like, we don't say, like, that's gay because, like, there's been bad blood between the straight world and the gay community, which there certainly has, right?
Yeah.
Then, like, maybe we cross it, like, you know, a point in the future where, like, you know, that's straight, that's gay. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because there's not, like, things go in cycles, you know? And, like, also, it's like, when you start to examine, it's like that intent again. It's like, what was the intent? And if the intent changes, maybe, like, you know, the language changes and of course, what becomes taboo changes. And
that's what's, like, I guess maybe sad to me, too, is, like, I'm thinking of my teammates in various iterations of teams that I've been on. And I know that everybody's intent was just to make people laugh, right? But it could so easily be misconstrued by any audience member that doesn't know us from Adam. And they're just like, oh my God, they said that? Are you kidding? Like, I can't even think about how many people I've unintentionally offended.
Yeah, but also, like, you could have the most, you know, plain show in the world and someone would be offended too.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, that's not the standard in and of itself. I mean, I think there's, like, you know, some self-critical, like, yeah, it's very interesting.
Not give a fuck, but I think that you can't.
You have to give a fuck.
You have to give a fuck.
Yeah, you have to give a fuck. Because even if, like, you're not ill-intended, people don't know that.
Yeah.
And, like, I always tell that to people too. I'm like, man, like, regardless of, like, you know, where you think you're coming from, once you lose your audience, you've lost your audience, right? And, like, if your audience thinks you mean ill, like, and here's the thing too, it's like when it's improvised, it's so much harder.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's like satire and you're having like a little like cutting edge, like, you know, thing you're trying to say, or if it's like stand up, like you can formulate that, right, to get people like on your page, like on the same page with you, like laugh at something they wouldn't agree with satirically. But when it's improvised, because you're just kind of going with the flow, you don't, even as like an experienced improviser, you might find yourself in a territory that you're like, oh, no.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's not how I meant it.
Yeah, for sure. Because you really, I mean, you're saying essentially the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one.
It is, truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Don't do that British accent. I know what you're trying to do.
Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't do nothing. So offended. Everybody's so offended.
I'm offended.
Oh my gosh.
I don't always know too if everyone's so offended, but like the people who are offended speak up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so, but that's the same with everything. Is like all the extremes in our world today are like what you hear, and so I don't think things are as crazy as it feels. It's just that like the clickbait of like our online life makes us feel like the most angry people are what most people are feeling.
Right.
And it's the thing we focus on because like our brains are like, oh, anger.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There's so many reasonable people.
Yeah, who are just
there's
staying
so many
silent.
yeah. There's so many reasonable people who are just like,
yeah, it's
probably
true,
better just not to, you know.
But I think that goes to show or that's the same rather for like everything, even for religion, right? The extremists are the ones that are the most vocal, and then you either jump on board the bandwagon or you take a step back and you're like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But if you do take a step back, you're oftentimes very silent about it. Like, you're not going to go and like, our religion is crazy. Right? There's no like atheist protests. I don't know. Maybe there are, but it's certainly not something. I think you could probably speak to this topic maybe.
Oh, I could speak to this topic.
Maybe better than I.
But also, like, you know, if you were like, hold to more like moderate views religiously, right? Or you're like, I'm not sure. Or like, we like can't be certain, or like a little bit more agnostic about something, like that's not interesting enough. Right. To like grab anyone's attention. Yeah. But here's the thing is I do think like being able to have like a conversation like this where it's like why is something taboo, right, in comedy, and like be able to have it at length is important, because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, like how, like you can't do that, it's like, well, why? Let's talk about it. Like, yeah, we probably shouldn't like do certain things because like they might get perceived ill, and even if you're like coming from the right place, it's like you can't get that nuance out in the moment of a comedy show. And so like, why are certain things like taboo?
I guess maybe just that they've offended enough people in the past that now it's like,
and or there's a version of it that feels like it's punching down, right? Or it feels like the, you know, and there's a history of like power dynamics that, you know, are always into play of like, oh, like you're doing that joke, but like you don't understand like the oppression of like,
right,
you know, like women and gay people, and
I'll never understand.
I never understand. I do feel like that is one like nice side to like being in some minute tiny way like a little bit diverse, of like being gay, is like getting a little insight into like, oh, like I mean I can't fully understand like people who like are like in bigger minority groups, like what they have to go through, but it's at least a little insight into like, oh man, like I know how I feel when I'm in this situation. My my brother and his boyfriend and I were all at home in Michigan together for the first time.
Yes, it's chat, right?
And it felt nice.
Was it?
To have a team of 4 like hanging out with my family.
That's really amazing.
You know what I mean? And like I can understand like, especially, you know, like how when there's like when you came into like IO, there wasn't many women, right? You said that maybe our team was like one of the first teams that was half and half.
No doubt. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I remember every team that I saw like going through classes, there was one, maybe a second female. And then when we made a team, Berserker, there were 5 females. It was the first one that was split 5 and 5, which is outrageous.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's kind of gone backwards. Like, I don't know. I mean, I still been on the majority of like my musical teams were, I'd say about 50-50. But Harold teams are kind of back to being very male dominant, which I truthfully, I might get shit for saying this, but like I kind of never minded. Okay. And the reasons for that, like, I feel like I happen to be like a fairly strong woman. Like I definitely make my presence known, whether people want it to be known or not. Yeah. But I'm not going to be like marginalized. Like I'm not gonna let a boys club like push me to the side. Like I'll go out there and I'll play a guy and I'll be louder and bigger 100%. And better than you. It's not you're comfortable wherever you are. I'm fine with it. Yeah, because I think of it as a challenge, and I think with improv, the fact that we are improvising, we're making things up, you have the ability to play anybody of any age, of any gender, of any stature, of any creed, of any whatever. Mm-hmm. Like literally the world is at your fingertips. So what avenue are you going to choose to do? Am I going to be like some meek little woman? Let me pour you another tea. No, I'm not going to be that broad. Like no, or I'm going to pour you the tea and I haven't seen you do it. You know, like,
I haven't seen that character yet.
No, don't drink that beer.
On like the flip side of that, is there like, yeah, I don't need it, but like when you're like on a team that's like all women or mostly women or whatever,
Yeah.
does it feel like a little bit more like, oh, like this,
Well, my two independent teams are both all women,
stacked,
and we're from here.
and we're from here.
Yes, super fun.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to see us. But I love both those teams just because I feel like every other female that's on those teams with me kind of plays the same way that I do. Like we all play hard.
Yeah.
So, there's
Yes.
there's no one that's
Yeah.
going to get pushed by the wayside or like allow themselves to be pigeonholed into a certain character.
And I understand like but I also am sympathetic to the people who like do feel when they're like there's not enough diversity in a group, like
For sure.
like why that would affect you poorly and like
Yeah.
why there should be more, and like
Other than being like one of a few females, I can't pretend to know what it's like to be like, a major minority on a team of
yeah.
whatever, So I'd imagine that it's got to be tough, but I'm also of that same mind. That's just like we're in a profession based on talent. So you're on that team because you're talented. Blow the roof off of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let yourself be put in the corner.
Yeah.
But
I think that, certainly, I think that's a great individual mindset to have, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like collectively from like a theater standpoint and like a management standpoint, like they should be like, how do we diversify and how do we get more people in? But as an individual and a performer, if you can have the mindset of like, I'm going to fucking do my work
Right.
and I'm just going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
Like that's all you have control of. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's all you have control of. I wanted to talk about your husband's fame.
Oh my gosh. His newfound fame.
Oh boy.
That we never asked for. It's wild. Do you want to introduce it or shall I? I don't know.
What happened, Erin?
Okay, so my husband is
It's not like fame isn't like
yes, it's unwanted.
Yeah.
It is certainly unwanted. He's a nurse practitioner who works primarily on the South Side, helping a lot of underprivileged families and a lot of people on welfare and Medicare and such, and was taking the Red Line back north, which for those of you that might not be in Chicago, the Red Line is basically like the main vein of subway that runs north to south through the city. And at times it can be a little dangerous.
Also, I feel like right now during like the pandemic, like Matt got followed going out to O'Hare by like some guy with like a knife in his like waistband, and there's no other people around to like have enough protection.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of heightened violence right now during COVID.
It feels scarier.
Unmonitored and
yeah,
certainly. So yeah, long story short, this guy just basically started accosting him and slapping his hands. Dave was like very peacefully trying to, create some space. This guy was not wearing a mask and yelling and shouting and spitting in his face. And after a lot of verbal assault and some hand slapping physical assault, Dave took matters into his own hands and done went crazy on the boy. So there was a train fight that thankfully did not go any further than fists. That happened to be filmed by this amazing woman named Catrice, who is just a huge advocate and an amazing help. And they caught the guy.
Yeah, Dave said that.
Yeah, this was like 2.5 weeks ago in the middle of July, and they caught the guy. They found him through facial recognition, which is wild.
That makes me uncomfortable.
I know. Seriously.
Like a camera was like
some
do you know like how they found him? Like was like a camera and like the CTA got his face, and
I'd imagine maybe because in the video you really don't get a clear shot of this guy's face. Yeah, it's like total Minority Report, right?
Gosh.
Like it's some like 3-dimensional reconstruction of what this guy actually looks like. They're able to identify him though. Dave went down and picked him out of a lineup, and hopefully they just need Catrice's statement again, and the fact that she wants to proceed and push forward, and then they can get him off the streets, which would be phenomenal.
Because he's been like assaulting other people.
Yeah, he has priors. He's got a whole rap record, and the detective for CPD was like, "This guy is a bad guy. We want him off the street."
Yeah, and accosting people.
And not for nothing. I mean, my husband's pretty jacked, so the fact that this guy just wanted to come to like an empty train and just start with him is pretty freaking stupid. It's pretty stupid.
But yeah, like it like made national news, didn't it?
Yeah, it made like, international news. It got picked up by like the Daily Mail UK.
Yeah.
And I will say this.
Okay.
The guy, when he was like beginning his initial rant and kind of targeting Dave, he was talking about healthcare workers. And said something about, you know, like him being in scrubs and you guys don't know me in the hospital. Like, what are you going to give me? Blah, blah, blah. And was like demanding things from him. Every news story that picked it up after, I forget what the initial one was. It was like some online forum for Chicago. But every news line slowly started to manipulate the story and the headline to where it's now like man assaults a healthcare worker and blames him for COVID.
Oh, so they're trying to make it into something.
They're trying to make it, yeah.
I like, hate the news right now. I hate the news.
Unreal.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
And like,
there are elements that are true, but I mean, the way that they fabricated it to now make that the headline.
There's so much useless information about everything that shouldn't be a news story.
Yeah.
Right? Like someone not wearing a mask is not a news story. If someone in like like South Dakota wasn't wearing a mask, it's like that's not really a news story.
No.
Like yeah, wear a mask please.
Yeah.
Well, you're at a grocery store, but like the way everything's spun just to like make us feel so like
100%. Which is so detrimental because like right now there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're like stoking the fire of anger and people are just getting outraged over the smallest things. It's not doing anybody any
also
favors.
There's awful people in this country because there's millions of people in this country.
And there's millions of them are terrible assholes.
There's millions of assholes.
It's called Florida. It's like, that's unreal.
But like, it doesn't mean it's a news story.
Right.
And like the fact that it's under all of our skin as if like this is like, I have to deal with this. Like, no, you don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I feel like we would all feel, I went into work today and somebody who was working was like this is so hard. And like, it's so like, I'm just feeling like the sense of like gallows humor today. And I'm like, most days I don't feel like my life has changed so much that it's like awful.
Really?
But I do think the more I like worry about like what will happen, not what's happening now, or what are other people saying, or what's going on in another state, or like project the ideas of like the possibilities, like then I feel like I'm there because I've put myself there. But it's like, honestly, Matt and I are just like, we're having a great summer.
Yeah, you guys are coasting.
We're having a great summer.
I kind of feel the same minds, like we're fortunate enough to like just be home all the time with the boys.
Yeah, boys.
It's so cool. I got 2 little boys.
Got 2 little boys.
Like, it's mad fun. Like I'm getting to see every day, like all their changes, all their growth. And it's really cool. Like that's certainly the silver lining, but also then on days where they're both batshit, I'm like, I need to get out. I need to do something. Like I don't feel like I do anything for myself anymore, which is a little, I guess that's bad. I think that's going to probably catch up to me at some point.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the fear, but I think, I mean, you got a banging garden. You've been able to do a bunch of stuff to the house. Like you guys are, I'd imagine it's not all bad.
We're swimming in cucumbers right now.
Oh, us
it's
too.
It's great.
Holy shit.
And our tomatoes are ripening up.
Oh my God. Our gardens are on par
Is this
with
your
one another.
first proper like garden in your own backyard?
Yeah, we've always built the garden in his parents.
So fun.
It's amazing.
I'm like when other people are like have like these massive yards and they're like oh yeah, I should garden, or like I don't know how to garden. It's like,
give me your garden.
Yes,
give me your lawn. I'd like to...
We will raise cows. We will grow corn for a year. Like the little space we're working with, we're like so excited to try to be like, I bet you can squeeze in another tomato plant if we do single stems.
Ours is like overly saturated. There are plants that don't even see light just because. Like,
And like the learning, it's so fun because Matt and I have been doing it for like maybe 4 years now.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 summers. And like each summer, like learning more about like, and watching the life cycle of a plant is so fun.
Well, now you guys are growing hops. Like this year, they've got
growing
some
hops.
like vertical trellises that.
Yeah.
Because
I just started brewing beer, which
we're enjoying at the moment.
the Hefeweizen,
Centano.
which I feel like turned out kind of Hefeweizen.
It's very Hefe.
Yeah.
It is very
I think
Hefe.
it went the right way. Hops and just tons of basil.
You got so much basil, so do we.
Too much basil. But we thought we were going to make so much pesto.
I know, same. I bought like this big ass bag of pine nuts at Costco. It's just sitting there.
You got to go walnuts. It's so much cheaper, and it's not that much of a difference.
That's a good idea. I should have done
pine
that.
nuts are expensive.
Yeah, man, I got had. Basically.
But there's like so much like you like learn from year to year.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like fun. It's like, oh, cool. We know now from like last year, like, oh, the growing like tomatoes in a bush doesn't work well for us because they don't ripen up by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so like we're doing single stems and like we're pruning more so that they'll ripen. And also they cut down a branch in our backyard. There's more sun.
Beautiful.
I love it.
What, from a neighbor's tree?
Yeah. I would say I've realized lately that gardening and like going out in the morning and having a cup of coffee and sitting like by the garden every single morning and looking at things is like honestly one of the like best parts of my life.
Really? Yeah.
Honestly.
It is incredibly gratifying to like watch the process of something that you started and then see it like come to fruition, then get to like enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I made an omelet with some basil and tomato the other day and I was like, oh my God, I'm a queen. Like you feel like
Now you just got to raise those chickens for the eggs.
Oh my God.
Matt wants ducks.
Really?
Yeah, apparently he has a whole like it's like a textbook about ducks. And apparently like people have duck eggs instead of chicken eggs.
Let me tell you something. If you get a duck, you're going to find one less one because duck is one of my favorite proteins. I love duck. So if I'm able to successfully grow like a raspberry bush, I'm going to make a raspberry coulis and kill one of your ducks. Don't tell Matt.
I won't. Oh, I wanted to go back about your raising your children.
Yeah.
I think I've told you this before, but like
I do that.
Matt and I are like we're always so impressed with like you guys.
That I came
how you
together
parent.
as a human.
Like,
It's very
like,
weird.
You guys are just so relaxed and like so like you're just awesome parents.
Thank you.
And it's like
That means a lot.
it's like I didn't suspect that you were going to be a good parent.
None of us did. Dave says that to me like at least once a week. He's like,
And you're
knew?
so good.
Thanks,
You're
man.
like of all the people we know, we think like you're the best like mom who's like raising like young kids right now.
Fuck yeah. Fuck all you other moms. I'm joking.
I shouldn't say that. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
No, it's okay. You said it. Everybody
I
heard.
shouldn't. Okay, it doesn't mean
being
that you're the
broadcast
best.
live.
You're the
You said
best
what you said,
at
Jonny.
raising
You said what you
children. It's you're the most. You just seem so like you're just in the flow.
Yeah, I'm chill.
You're
Like,
in the
honestly,
flow.
I feel like most times I only have two settings. I guess I'm the true Gemini, right? I'm either real chill,
Yeah.
which I am like 94% of the time, or I'm
you're
like
freaking the fuck
white
out.
hot.
Yeah.
which you've seen.
Which I've seen. Some of my favorite moments being Erin freaking out at a Subway
It was right. It was due.
because
She deserved it.
something touched your bread, right?
No, she didn't heat up the chicken, and she put just cold dead chicken.
Someone could have sneezed on my food and I wouldn't have spoken up.
You
And
would
I
never say
I would have been
anything.
like, "Thank you," and then I would just like have thrown it away when I left.
I was real hot. It was not a good night.
And then I was like, now I can't go in that Subway anymore, which is right by my house.
I've ruined a few places for Jonny. One of my favorite stories is when we went to the Brazilian Bowl.
I love the Brazilian Bowl. I hope
it
it
came out like-
survives the pandemic.
I think it will. I saw a few people coming out of it the other day.
Yeah.
But I have a very strong aversion to mushroom. And the menu.
So
listed all
much
these-
so that she'll lie and tell people she has an allergy just so they understand like
on the
it's a big deal.
occasion-
It's a
on
big
the
deal.
occasion, I have been known to fabricate the truth. But yeah, it's like the whole entire menu lists all the ingredients. Nowhere does it list mushrooms. The bowl comes out and it's loaded with mushrooms.
Oh, was it?
It was loaded. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I got to go back inside. And Johnny just grabs my arm and like holds me at the table. He goes, please, Erin, don't ruin this place for me.
I feel like I may have been actually even a little bit more stern to you in the moment. I was like,
just very concerned.
You are not going to ruin Brazilian bowl for me. One of my other favorite ones, an Erin freakout is, but it was also righteous indignation, and I appreciated it, is when we were in Oz Park, and that woman, we were biking, I think.
We absolutely were.
This woman was on her
like
phone
a shark.
and like tried to throw stuff in the trash and totally missed.
She was with a kid too. That's what bothered me, is that she's teaching her kid to litter.
And you were like, excuse me? And she's on the phone, and you're like, excuse me, ma'am? Excuse me? Excuse me? Like, go back there. And like, she just keeps
you dropped your trash. And she just like shrugged me off. And then I was like, you dropped your trash. And I was screaming it out loud so everybody could hear. I was like, lady, you went to throw the trash out and you missed the trash. And now you littered. I just put her on blast and she went back and threw it out.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Good for you.
Good for me. I'm doing my part to help the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I feel like I'm mellow. And I think that
you are. Yeah,
parent,
you're very mellow as a parent.
I think you kind of have to be. It's like you can't pop off every time your kid does something stupid. I mean, especially in the first few years, they're learning. Like, it's just inevitable. They're going to do something that's going to irritate you. And like, you can either meet it with anger or you can meet it with like a calm understanding. It's like, hey, bud, we're not going to do that. I'm not a fan of this. Let's reroute, you know?
What do you think, like, when they become... Like, isn't like terrible threes more of a thing than twos?
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Yeah. I remember like seeing some 3-year-olds, like actually every 3-year-old I knew, I was like, what is wrong with this kid?
Yeah.
And like, I remember my lovely, most sweet nieces. They're the most amazing girls in the world. They're so like thoughtful and kind and lovely. I remember thinking when they were like 3, I was like, oh, well, obviously my sister and brother-in-law just don't know how to raise children.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just the poor. It's just someone being a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And it has no reflection on the parenting, but it's just like,
no, I mean, like,
I've been
Reese
around some
literally
3-year-olds.
lost his mind.
No.
The other day I was like getting him ready for bed and like he had pajamas that, you know, needed socks. So I put a sock on. I went to go put the other sock on and he lost his mind for like a good solid 5 minutes just because I tried to put another sock on his foot. And he was just like, ah! It's like, what are you going to do, right? You can't flip out. I'm not going to shake and be like, you need 2 socks. So I was like, fuck it. I just let him like walk around without a sock. And then like a few minutes later when he was calm and chill, I tried to put it back on and he let me put it on. I was like, call it a day.
Boom.
Yeah, what are you going to
do? Can I tell you the thing that I hate that parents do the most?
Yeah, please.
I hate when parents talk in a way for not only their kids, but the benefit of everyone else around them. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I believe I have it.
I don't know if it's like, and maybe it happens for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's when they're correcting their kid. Maybe it's sometimes even when they're just like being a real rational, good parent.
Yeah.
But they're talking in such a way that they're like, it's performative.
Right.
They know other people are listening.
Go ahead and put that spoon in your hand and then dip. Good job, Benjamin. Like,
yeah, it's like they're very cognizant of other people listening and they're talking to their kid for the sake of other people.
Fair, yeah.
And it could be for a variety of reasons. It could be teaching moments. It could be like just them being like just in parent zone. But it's like, I'm like, why are you talking? Just talk to your kid right now, rather than like talk to all the rest of us so we can see how you're talking to your kid. Do you know what? Like, can you picture what I'm talking about?
I absolutely can.
It drives me crazy.
I think those parents. Well, I don't know. I'm going to speculate hard on this one, but I feel like maybe they're insecure about their parenting style and need to almost like make it known to everybody around them that like this is the way that they parent, almost for people to give them like a private kudos or
maybe
something.
Especially if your kid's like being an asshole. They're like, see.
That's also tough. Like if your kid's being an asshole in public and like you can't like reprimand, right? It's like I'm not going to like I said before, you know, we don't really meet the children with like yelling or anger. It's like it's more rationale and like logic. It's like, hey, here's what's going on. You need 2 socks to go to bed. If you're gonna flip out, I mean, I'm just gonna leave you alone. You know, like you just have to kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I definitely get what you're saying because I think that that's probably the most common interaction people that aren't parents have with other parents that are just like, oh, that turns me off. You know?
Yeah.
I get it.
Huh.
What do you? Because you eventually want to have children.
We'd love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. I for sure would love to.
And
We'll see if it's in the cards, you know? We'll see if it's in the cards to adopt at some point.
You'll be a chill parent too, though. I mean, because you don't really pop off.
No, I don't think so. I'm comfortable being like straightforward and stern if I need to be, but I think when sometimes people see me like around like a group of kids, especially when like teaching like a kids class, like because I teach adult and kid improv, and like I'm just like being very like matter of fact and like stern, like, oh, Jonny got serious for a second.
It's very weird to watch you go serious too. I mean, being your like best friend for so long, it's like you're such a goofball and you're so lighthearted. I think like
when I talk in any bit of a serious like manner,
it's got to be heavy. Yeah, even like when you're not like smiling through whatever word you're saying, I'm just like, oh my god, this is something I need to listen to. What is this?
So hopefully the children understand that when I'm like teaching them, like, listen, Bobby, you have to stop running around the room right now. Like, look at the rest of us. We're all actually sitting down and we're listening.
Bobby, be an adult.
You're the only one running around.
Are we children? Are we children or are we not?
You are. Well, you're a child.
You're a child. Okay, fair, Bobby. Okay, fine.
I told you I'm teaching like the first improv classes live, and they're all doing it with face masks on.
Wild.
And it's real hard.
Yeah.
You lose. It's like I've taught online now, and I've taught with face masks on in person, and I don't know which one's worse. They're both hard. And they're both worth doing, if like you want, because I feel like we need to keep living our lives while we're in pandemic mode. You can't, like, you still have to do something creative. It's not ideal, and you'll still have fun, but it's definitely a hurdle.
I can't imagine how it would lend itself to like relationship scenes that need to stay positive. It's probably so easy to like argue with someone with a face on, or like a face mask on, and you know, be negative or.
It's very weird. You lose so much.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like
can you imagine just performing with a pillow in front of your face?
No, it's like you know, what if you're in love with someone and you can't hug them or touch them, right? It's like everything that we were taught not to do. It's like, don't be a talking head. Make sure you use your environment. Make sure you address the other person in the scene. It's like,
but you know, teaching online, it's like there's some challenges, but like every time I walk away from doing it, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad I get to do that thing that I love still, even though it's not the way I would prefer to do it. And like, you know, I have people take classes from all over the country and all over the world, and like they're like, man, like I'm glad that we still get to do this, and like, or like I'm glad that like now there's some things online. But I'll say this: performing online, I would say classes online, doable. Performing online,
it's wacky,
dog shit.
Yeah, I think the number one reason, or the number one thing that I struggle with, rather, through doing the few shows that I've done online so far, is that there is zero feedback for you as a performer. You can't hear.
You're just throwing
laughing.
Your energy right at a wall.
I'm talking to a wall. Yeah, there's no difference whether or not I'm on a Zoom show with 10 people or if I'm like literally in the corner Blair Witching myself, just talking about like, you know, whatever, the grass. It's like it's the same exact feedback, which is just brutal.
But also at a certain level, like. When we did a show together the other day, I actually kind of walked away and just was like, oh, that was nice.
Truthfully, that was the most successful one that I feel like I've been a part of.
And I think remembering that thing that like we should be doing anyways, which is like performing to make your teammates laugh rather than trying to figure out what the audience thinks is funny, you know?
Yeah.
Is like put that like focus on like, how do I get Erin to break in the scene, or like,
right.
Yeah.
You could do it so easily, man. You make me break all the time.
Like, I think like that, having you guys, like seeing you guys in like a playful mode was really fun.
But I think that we're able to maybe say that because we've had years of experience of having it done the other way. Yep. If you were kind of coming into this world right now in the current state, what would that look like? I don't know if it would be enough to pique my interest to keep me going.
Well, I'll definitely say that
I might
I've
be
had
wrong.
people who are like very excited about classes, and I think like you can get enough that it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think also the hope is that it returns to
I
some sort of sense of
know,
normalcy
I
and you
know.
get to perform, right?
Yeah.
That is the end game. It's like, I'm sure people aren't like, I would just love to keep doing these Zoom shows,
No.
right?
Nobody is saying that.
Yeah.
No one is saying that.
No one.
I don't want to meet in person. Actually, that's not true. Some people are saying, who are like beginner improvisers, they're like, I feel more comfortable doing this from my house. Like,
Really?
if you're scared
Yeah,
of
I
like
guess
taking
so.
a risk, they're like, this felt really comfortable for me and like fun because I was like in my home
the
doing
safety
this.
of your
I was
own
like,
home.
oh,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, see, I mean, I guess it all speaks back to what we were talking about earlier, right? It's like there's always going to be people that love it, always going to be people that hate it. Like, you can never please the masses. It's never going to be one blanket agreement. So something like this could be like really beneficial, especially like because you do teach like improv for anxiety, and there's a lot of people that are very anxious about not only improvising but like being up in front of people or speaking out to groups or even performing in front of people. So it's like if you're stripping away that aspect of it but still allowing people to like free their minds and
Free your mind.
but get like all the other benefits out of improv, save for the fact that they're having to do it live and in front of people, it could be really beneficial.
Yeah. I just keep coming back to too, is like, we have to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
you
we
can't
can't just
just,
turn
like,
off our
right.
lives for a year or two. It's like
Yeah.
the thing that you want to do, and it might not be the right way. And I think about people who are like, I'm just gonna get married regardless of if I can have the wedding I wanted, or like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or like, it's like you got to kind of like not just it's long enough of a thing with no end in sight that you just have to go, okay, how do I have to make this work and not
Yeah, throw
wait
it
for
to
it to
the
be
wind,
over?
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like, oh, I'll wait for it to be over and then it's like, no, just do what you want to do right now and like do it the best you can in these situations.
The safest way you can.
The safest way you can.
That's right. Don't forget to be safe. I know. I'm at this very weird crossroad where I'm sort of getting sick of, being stagnant. And I know that when the shitty weather rolls around, like it's going to be even harder
I know.
to kind of like go on with life as it currently is.
Long walks in the snow.
Very long walks.
Honestly, last year I started walking to work and it took me over an hour.
Really?
And although it was cold and that enjoyable, something mentally, it like helped my brain like more through the winter by doing that than any winter before.
Well, you're certainly getting your chance this year.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of outside walks. I'm going to buy some toboggan shoes and make it work.
Ooh,
Who knows?
toboggan shoes.
Toboggan shoes.
Aaron,
What?
you've been my first guest.
Oh, I love it. I'm so
What a
happy that you
delight.
did this. What a
I'm going to have your husband on.
I'm going no.
And we're
No.
it's going to be as you guys always set it up, it's going to be a competition.
He did say, he's like, I think I'm going to go on Johnny's podcast. I'm like, what are you even going to talk about? He's like, we'll just see who gets more listens, more views. I'm like, all right, bro. So anyways, help me win. I'm Erin, the better half of the duo. No, he's got some pretty interesting stories.
He's got some very interesting stories.
Yeah, kid has lived a life for sure.
Yeah. You send him up with a little teaser.
Little appetizer for him. Yeah, he's a real interesting guy that chose to marry me. So there's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. Also, P.S. right now I'm staring at this gigantic rubber band ball that Jonny has in his living room that he has had for how many years?
I started it in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, with one rubber band. That's the only thing that's in it is rubber bands.
It's gigantic.
It's
the
also
size
way
of, like, a
heavier than you think. It's like
dodgeball. I've tried to pick it up before.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I haven't weighed it in a while, but I feel like it's like 30 pounds or something.
Easily.
Yeah, and it bounces.
It still bounces?
It's shedding though. The
Yeah, it
old rubber
snaps.
bands are like dying, and like I need to put some fresh ones on. They're drying. They're drying
Damn.
out.
All right. Well, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Oh, a bag of rubber
Johnny's
bands.
favorite holiday.
Erin Goldsmith, aka Erin Lovely.
Jonny Nelson, aka Juantan.com.
Check out her work, the restaurant on the YouTubes.
You can do the restaurant series.
What else?
You
can check out Wigging Out, except for the first episode.
It's a few choice episodes there. You can check out 40 Weeks, which is my rap video on the IO Comedy Network. You can also come see Stacked, We're From Here, or Grand Crew.
When there's a theater again that's open.
Anything going on ever again, hopefully. And I promise I will do no accents nor entertain.
Good.
Wunderbar.
Keep it that way.
Perfetto.
Yay. Thank you, Erin.
Bye, Jonny.
What a delight. What is this one time?
Get my delight.
Oh, that was about an hour exactly. Okay.
Look at you.
I have to make
That's a
sure
great
to
internal
stop.
Oh my God.
Come on, dance appetite, dance in the middle of the night. Come on, dance appetite.